Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a huge challenge for Thailand, farmer debt. But here's the thing, we're not just going to talk numbers. We're going to look at a hidden psychological trap, something that's literally wired into how we all think about money.
All right, let's jump right in with the big question. Why is it that so many hardworking farmers seem to be caught in this endless cycle of debt? You might think it's just about income, but the real answer, as we're about to see, is way more complex than that.
And just to give you a sense of scale, this problem is, well, it's huge. By 2020, household debt in Thailand had ballooned to 90% of the entire country's GDP. I mean, that's a staggering number. And the research is pretty clear on this. Farming households are right at the top of the list of the most vulnerable, constantly at risk of being completely swamped by debt.
But what if the real problem isn't just about spreadsheets and interest rates? What if a big piece of this puzzle is actually inside our own heads? This is where things get really interesting, because we're stepping out of traditional economics and into the world of behavioral science.
Okay, so this brings us to this really powerful idea called mental accounting. Think of it as a kind of mental shortcut our brains use to handle money. And trust me, getting a handle on this is absolutely key to figuring out this whole debt cycle.
So what exactly is it? Well, the term was dreamed up by a Nobel Prize winner, Richard Thaler, and is basically this. We all have this natural habit of putting our money into different mental buckets. For instance, you probably think about a 1,000 baht tax refund way differently than 1,000 baht you earned through hard work, right? Even though logically, a baht is a baht. And how we bucket that money, it completely changes how we spend and save it.
And this is where it becomes so critical when we're talking about debt. See, a perfectly rational person would just see a loan as one big number they need to pay down. But when we use mental accounting, we do something different. We split it into two separate mental buckets. You've got the principal, that huge, intimidating loan amount, and then you've got the interest, that smaller, much more manageable-looking monthly payment.
And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. This is exactly what researchers found when they went out and talked to farmers in Thailand. As this quote from the study shows, farmers tend to build this really strong mental wall between the main loan amount and the interest they have to pay. In their minds, they're two totally separate problems.
So here's the kicker. By only focusing on paying what's in that monthly interest envelope, it feels like you're making progress, It gives you this sense that you're on top of it, that you're managing the debt. But the whole time, that giant mountain of principal debt just sits there, completely untouched. It guarantees the cycle just keeps going and going. It's a psychological trick, really, but one with absolutely devastating financial results.
All right, so how do we actually know this is what's happening? Well, let's dive into the evidence. We're going to look at how researchers actually uncovered this mental trap by studying these farming communities up close.
The main study we're looking at here was a pretty big deal. They went to 39 different Royal Project sites all over northern Thailand and surveyed more than 400 farming households. And they looked specifically at the real loans people were taking out from two main places: the local village funds and the big agricultural bank, the BAAC.
And this right here is the heart of the problem. See, the loans these places offer are supposed to be helpful. They're super flexible. They let farmers pay just the interest each month, with no requirement to pay back any of the main loan. But that very flexibility, as well-meaning as it is, accidentally creates the perfect storm for this mental accounting trap to take over.
So the study didn't stop there. The researchers went even deeper and started measuring the farmers' financial literacy. And they weren't just testing basic math. They were asking very specific questions about debt and finance. And what they found? Wow, it was a total game changer.
The results were pretty shocking, to be honest. In a similar study, a whopping 88% of farmers didn't actually realize that if they only paid the interest, their debt would literally never go away, ever. And get this, only about a third of them understood how something like compounding interest could make their debt double in just a few years.
Now you take this psychological blind spot and you pile on some serious economic pressure. The Gini coefficient, which is just a way to measure income inequality, was 0.476 in the area they studied. So what does that mean? Well, 0 is perfect equality and 1 is total inequality. So 0.476, that's a really high level of income disparity. It just adds another huge layer of financial stress to the whole situation.
So when you put all these pieces of the puzzle together, the conclusion is kind of hard to escape. Low financial literacy makes farmers way more likely to fall into that mental accounting trap of splitting up the principal and interest. It's this perfect storm of psychology and tough circumstances that really locks so many people into this vicious debt cycle.
Okay, so if a big part of the problem is rooted in our own psychology, then the solution can't just be throwing more money at it, right? The solution has to be psychological too. So, let's talk about how we could actually design smarter solutions.
And the answer might just be found in something Richard Thaler is famous for. These things called behavioral nudges. The idea is, instead of just dumping a bunch of financial information on people and hoping for the best, you design policies with small, clever tweaks. These little changes gently guide people toward making better financial choices by working with our natural brain wiring, not against it.
So here's a really concrete idea that came out of the research. Imagine a new program. If a farmer pays down their main loan principal on time, they get a reward. But it's not just cash in their hand. It's a special, high-interest bonus that goes directly into a savings account for them. A simple setup like this helps build good habits for both paying off debt and saving money at the same time.
And here's the brilliant part. A little nudge like that completely reframes the goal in a person's mind. It's no longer about just paying the monthly interest bill. Suddenly, the new, much more exciting goal is, I got to eliminate that principal so I can get that savings bonus. It completely shifts the focus in their mental accounts, and all of a sudden, paying down the main debt becomes the top priority. It's a tiny change, but it could have a massive, massive impact.
And all this really brings us to a final big thought. This research makes a really strong case that the debt crisis isn't just about economics, it's deeply, deeply human. And it leaves us with this one really important question. If we can understand the funny little quirks of our own minds, can we actually design solutions that finally break the cycle and help set Thailand's farmers on a real path to financial freedom?